Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. If you're new here, we're thrilled to have you, and if you've been with us for a while, thank you for sticking around and keeping this community alive. Today we're opening a door that many have tried to peek through but few dare to explore fully. We're taking a deep, unflinching look at the whispers that follow Alina Bos and Alp Navruz. Two names that light up screens, red carpets, and conversations long after the cameras stop rolling. Buckle up, because we're about to step past the glossy images and into the places where pauses, glances, and carefully chosen words begin to tell a more complicated story. Before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed to Turkish Spotlight Secrets so you never miss the truth between the headlines. Let's start with what everyone sees. Alina and Alp are bona fide stars whose reputations were built on strong performances and a magnetism that audiences can feel even in silence. They've both carried characters through storms of heartbreak, fierce ambition, and quiet resilience. Their talent isn't in question. But it's exactly that talent, the way they embody emotion so convincingly, that leaves fans wondering where the scripts end and real life begins. Are we just watching masterful acting, or is there a deeper, unspoken connection that bleeds into their off-screen lives? Today, we're not chasing idle rumors, we're reading the patterns that form when interviews, public appearances, and moments of telling silence are stitched together. What hides behind the luminous smiles and the elegant restraint? That is the thread we'll pull. Let's look first at Alp Navruz. For years, he has carried that calm intensity. The quiet confidence in his posture, the look that seems to communicate a paragraph without saying a word. He has been called reserved, measured, a man who lets the work speak for him. But in an industry that rewards mystery, where does personality end and strategy begin? It's no secret that Alp protects his personal space. He disappears between projects, surfaces with a laser focus, and seems to sidestep questions with an ease that suggests not only discipline, but also a conviction that some parts of his life are not meant for public consumption. Photos have surfaced and disappeared just as quickly. There have been stretches when he skipped expected events, the kinds of gatherings where every move is catalogued. Is he shielding an unresolved past? Or nurturing a private ambition that demands absolute discretion? Fame, after all, often builds walls before it builds bridges. And then there's Alina Bos. If Alp is a fortress of still water, Alina is sunlight with shadows under the surface. She engages with audiences like an old friend, open, warm, effortlessly present. Yet even within that radiant presence, there are moments when her expression gives away something softer, something guarded. She has spoken openly about the pressures of balancing an ever-accelerating career with the need to maintain a life that feels real. The industry adores her, but it also watches her closely, and that scrutiny can turn even the simplest decision into a spectacle. Reports have picked apart every change, new routines, shifting priorities, a sudden retreat from social noise followed by a surge of activity. Are these the natural rhythms of an artist safeguarding her peace, or the careful choreography of someone negotiating professional demands, family expectations, and a deeply personal line she refuses to cross? Many women in the spotlight develop strategies for survival. Alina's might simply be the art of choosing when to speak and when to be still. Together, these two create a chemistry that fuels endless speculation. When they share a stage, present at an award show, or appear in the same campaign frame, the air changes. The rapport is undeniable, measured glances, easy laughter, an undercurrent of comfort that doesn't need to be explained. This energy has inspired 1,000 theories and 1,000,000 views. Are we watching a pair of professionals who understand exactly what their audience wants to feel? Or is the truth more intimate, a connection nurtured quietly behind closed doors? If there is something deeper, why keep it so carefully concealed? Some couples throw open the windows of their lives. Others build a sanctuary no camera can enter. Perhaps for Alina and Alp, privacy isn't a tactic, it's a promise they made to each other. There is another possibility, the one that doesn't live in the heart but in the calendar. What if confidentiality isn't fueled by fear but by ambition? Imagine a project, bold, risky, career-defining, that demands total secrecy. Imagine months of rehearsals in the quietest corners of the city, a hush-hush production schedule, contracts ironclad enough to make casual conversation dangerous. Picture a story written with the two of them in mind, designed to ignite the screen and recalibrate expectations. If that's what's brewing, then the silence isn't a smokescreen. It's strategy, the kind that turns mystery into momentum. Watch their joint interviews. The dance is elegant. Questions arrive dressed as innocent curiosity. Answers depart wearing ambiguity. A smile here, a change of subject there. Alina's laugh floats over a moment that might otherwise bite. Alp offers a thoughtful non-answer, and the tension dissolves into a conversation about craft, schedules, or gratitude. It is either the most graceful evasion in the business or a living example of two people who understand how to protect what matters without inviting conflict. Is it a united front? Almost certainly. Are they covering tension? Maybe. Are they telling us everything we need to know without giving away the pieces they refuse to lose? Absolutely. Keep an eye on the little things, the breadcrumbs that make enthusiasts lean closer. A last-minute schedule change just before a high-profile gala. A caption edited after a flood of comments. A friend group that seems to rotate in and out of frame, never quite staying long enough to confirm anything. Alone, these moments are nothing. Together, they sketch the outline of a picture that's clearer by feeling than by fact. Notice the choreography when questions get uncomfortably direct. One steps forward, fielding the words with practiced grace, while the other slips into a quiet, steady presence. It's not a shutdown, it's a relay, a way of handling heat without turning off the light. But let's imagine, for a second, that the so-called secrets aren't scandals at all. What if the darkness people sense is simply the absence of information around something beautiful, fragile, and not ready for public air? Perhaps Alp is investing time and heart in a humanitarian initiative, one that thrives away from the lens. Perhaps Alina is carving a new creative path, writing, maybe, or developing a project that requires solitude, skepticism-proof and expectation-free. Artists often work best when the world isn't watching. When people say secret, sometimes they mean sacred. We should also talk about weight, the kind you can't photograph. Fame looks glossy only from far away. Up close, it's loud, demanding, full of invisible rules. It asks for your time, your attention, your mistakes spun into entertainment. Anxiety finds opportunities. Sleep becomes a negotiation. People who've never felt the pressure will call it glamour, those inside the spotlight know it as endurance. If Alina and Alp have been holding each other up through the quiet storms, that bond might be the most honest thing in their world. A relationship can be real without being public. A promise can be kept without being posted. Think back over their careers. Peaks that dominated timelines. Lulls that made room for reinvention. Choices that looked daring from the outside and absolutely necessary from within. We hear whispers that they've stepped away from projects the industry expected them to accept. Turning down the obvious path takes courage others rarely applaud in the moment. Sometimes there are deals that promise the moon and deliver a maze instead. Sometimes lessons come with silence, and growth hides in the decisions nobody understands until later. If they'd been collecting those lessons, quietly reshaping their futures with every pivot, the result may be a version of themselves that's stronger than any headline can capture. Of course, we can't ignore the most cynical explanation, calculated mystique. In a world that translates intimacy into clicks, a carefully controlled unknown can be a powerful currency. Leave just enough space for wondering, and the audience will do the work for you. Speculation feeds attention. Attention becomes fuel. If that's the game, then Alina and Alp are playing chess while everyone else argues over checkers. But even if strategy is part of the picture, it doesn't mean feeling isn't. Marketing can frame a story, but it can't manufacture the quiet sincerity that slips out between them when they aren't performing. So where does this leave us? With a handful of clues, 1,000 interpretations, and a truth that remains theirs to keep. We've looked at Alp's composed interior world, Alina's luminous yet carefully guarded presence, the synchrony they exhibit side by side, and the careful steps they take when conversation veers too close to a line they don't intend to cross. We've considered tender possibilities and pragmatic ones, private causes, creative pursuits, mental well-being, and the undeniable allure of mystery as a brand. Maybe the reason their story captivates is precisely because it refuses to settle into a neat label. Maybe the most honest part of their fame is the part we can't see. What we can say is this: whatever the truth behind the curtain, the way Alina Bos and Alp Navruz carry it suggests respect for their craft, for each other, and for the parts of life that flourish in quiet. If something extraordinary is on its way, the silence is simply a countdown. If what binds them is personal, the silence is protection. Either way, the world will keep watching, replaying glances, decoding pauses, arguing over interpretations. And whether intentional or instinctive, that air of enigma only makes their presence more potent. Thank you for stepping into the gray areas with us today. If you felt the pull of this exploration, if it made you rethink what you thought you knew, let us know. Do you believe Alina and Alp are guarding a secret out of love, art, or both? Is there a project waiting to break the internet, or are we witnessing a sacred pact to live outside the algorithm's reach? Share your theories in the comments, you know we read everything. And if you want more deep dives into the stories behind the spotlight, tap like, pass this video to the friend who always has a theory, and hit subscribe to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. We'll be right here, watching the spaces between the words, ready to bring you the next chapter the moment the silence shifts.